Social Media Self-Defense, where we identify the methods and moderator controls that moderators and platforms use to incentivize unhealthy behaviors as acknowledged through public consensus, societal consensus, legislation that's been passed, government funding, the DSM, etc. And also the methods that platforms use to disincentivize healthy emotions that align with the user's natural environment and natural emotions. Essentially, intentional and unintended emotional and behavioral programming occurring on social media today accounts significantly for many of the mental health crises that we're dealing with today across the nation. And it's the goal of social media self-defense to identify how platforms are intentionally doing this, as well as those unintended negative outcomes that are also occurring as a result of functionality that platforms and moderators didn't intend to impose on users. Okay, so first we're going to talk about redefinition and how platforms alternate which elements you articulate and which elements you don't articulate to redefine the meaning of those variables. So if you take clickbait and you break clickbait into two pieces, you have a linguistic element, whatever the heading or whatever is written, and then you have the graphic, and that's whatever picture or visual makes up the post. And so the point here is to consume any written language, you have to read it and linguistically articulate it in order to consume it. Whereas graphics, you don't have to linguistically consume the graphic, you simply look at it. And so what this allows platforms to do is to control which information you articulate and which information you assume by isolating linguistic information to only specific topics and other signaled information to only graphic. And here in a second, I'll show you an example of how a graphic is used to redefine a linguistic. Here in this example, we first have the linguistic late. Typically, just the notion of being late stresses most people out. So being late is not a good thing. And this is our linguistic. Now, if we tether this linguistic to a non-articulated graphic of a rich guy who's pretty happy laying on a beach, it makes us wonder if being late is actually such a bad thing. So essentially, that's how being late can be redefined and counter-signaled graphically without our knowledge, and then all of a sudden, being late doesn't seem like such a bad thing. Now, take every positive emotion, happiness, humor, amusement, confidence, hope, and consider exactly how those positive emotions that we enjoy engaging in, that generally benefit us, can all be graphically counter-signaled and redefined. So for legal and copyright reasons, we're not using actual posts on social media. However, all the linguistics are actual linguistics from real posts. First, we're going to go over happiness redefinition and graphic counter-signaling to happiness. In the first post, we have too happy, but happiness is a good thing, so linguistically implying that you can have too much of a good thing redefines it as a potentially negative thing. Natural emotions are reactive to our environment, and because they're reactive to our environment, natural emotions are typically healthy because they're natural adaptive responses to the environment. And the second post, we have tired of being happy. So being happy and any positive emotion, because they're natural reactive feelings to the environment, we don't have to try to be happy when we're happy. And tired of being happy implies that being happy is work, when being happy or maintaining a positive demeanor is only required to be forced during times of resilience within a negative environment. And last, we have shallow. So here we have a happy graphic, guy laughing, amused, with a negative linguistic. Most people don't want to be shallow. They'd avoid being shallow because it's a negative character trait and nobody wants to be shallow. By tethering a positive graphic to a negative linguistic, it incentivizes users to avoid being happy on the basis that happiness is somehow shallow. So this post is actually disincentivizing happiness and incentivizing unhappiness on the basis that it makes you somehow genuine.